Caving, spelunking, and patrolling are all terms for the adventurous and often extreme activity of exploring deep cave systems. While it's a thrilling pursuit for some, it's also physically demanding, occasionally dangerous, and downright uncomfortable to watch if you're even slightly claustrophobic. The very idea of being wedged 200 feet underground, surrounded by rock, with little airflow and no quick way out, is enough to trigger anxiety in many. It leaves people wondering, what compels someone to take part in a hobby that can so easily become life-threatening? Attempting to squeeze through the smallest entrance into a deep cave in Edwards County, Texas, without any specialized gear, is far from ideal. But that didn't stop this group of friends, some of whom even tried to enter the narrow opening head first. This wild video went viral over a decade ago. Take a look.
The shoulders are getting through. There he goes. Dude, head first. Holy cow.
Push a little. That ass is gonna be tough because everybody else goes through the other way.
Shove that in there.
So your ass is in the...
Shove down.
Imagine the struggle of squeezing into that tiny hole, only to get stuck, panic setting in, and no clear way out. Foolish or fearless, you decide. Robbie Phillips, a professional rock climber from Scotland, shares his daring climbing escapades on his self-titled YouTube channel. After watching a few of his videos, it's clear he's no stranger to danger. But even the boldest adventurers can be thrown off by the suffocating confines of underground caves. Join Robbie as he takes on his first experience exploring the Knott's Cave, 2 System in the Yorkshire Dales, England. A journey that proves even fearless climbers can find themselves out of their element. Robbie described the crawl as the most claustrophobic experience of his life, though it hasn't completely deterred him from giving it another go in the future. Kenny Veach was an experienced hiker and outdoorsman who spent much of his time exploring the remote stretches of the Nevada desert. In 2014, he left a curious comment on a YouTube video discussing the strange experiments rumored to occur at Nevada's infamous Area 51. In his comment, Kenny described a bizarre encounter near Nellis Air Force Base, where he claimed to have discovered a mysterious cave with an entrance shaped like a perfect capital M. He said that as he approached the cave, a strange sensation overtook him. My whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got to the cave entrance, the worse the vibrating became. Frightened by the experience, Kenny turned and fled the area. The story quickly caught the attention of the YouTube community. Skeptical commenters challenged him to prove the cave's existence, prompting Kenny to upload a video titled M Cave Hike, documenting his return to the area in an attempt to relocate the mysterious site. But the skepticism didn't stop. Many viewers accused him of fabricating the story, which led Kenny to announce a second trip, this time a solo overnight hike into the desert with the intent to find the M Cave once and for all.
And I'm looking for a cave that I found, and I didn't have a sidearm when I was here before, and something about that cave just spooked me. Out of all the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate. The closer I got to it, the crazier my body felt, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna go in there right now, but I'm coming back someday. And I talked to some people on YouTube, and I told them, hey, I'm coming out here, you know, because they kind of called my hand on.
He was never seen again. Kenny vanished somewhere in the vast Nevada wilderness. A search team was deployed and eventually discovered his cell phone near an abandoned mine. But there was no sign of Kenny himself. Now, years later, his fate remains a mystery. Some believe he may have found the cave and didn't survive to return. Others suspect something even stranger happened out there in the desert. To this day, Kenny Veach's disappearance continues to fuel speculation, theories, and more questions than answers. This next clip is both haunting and heartbreaking, with a deeply emotional backstory. In January 2002, Dave Shaw, a highly respected technical deep diver, set out on a dangerous mission to recover the body of fellow diver Dion Dreyer, who had died nearly a decade earlier in South Africa's notorious Bushman's Hole, one of the world's deepest freshwater cave diving sites, reaching a depth of 271 meters. Dave was determined to bring Dion's remains back to the surface to give his family a proper burial. The dive was carefully planned and recorded by his team using an underwater camera. At first, everything seemed to go smoothly. Dave located Dion's body and secured it with a line to begin the ascent. However, things quickly took a tragic turn. As Dave tried to move the body, it unexpectedly began to float away. Over time, Dion's remains had undergone a process called saponification, turning parts of the body into a waxy, buoyant substance known as adipocere. The sudden shift in buoyancy caused complications, and as Dave struggled to regain control, his light became entangled in the line attached to Dion's body. Despite his efforts to free himself, the lines became too tangled. The immense physical strain, combined with the depth and pressure, caused Dave to lose consciousness. He died underwater beside the very man he had risked everything to recover. The footage, narrated by Dave's close friend and support diver Don Shirley, who also nearly lost his life that day, offers a sobering glimpse into the risks of deep cave diving. 3 days later, both Dave and Dion's bodies were recovered along with the diving equipment. Dave's story has since been featured in several documentaries, including the powerful 2020 film, Dave Not Coming Back. It was January of 2014 when a group of seasoned cave explorers set their sights on Lost John's Cave in Lancashire, England, a vast, winding labyrinth that snakes beneath the earth for nearly 3 miles. At its deepest point, the cave drops a chilling 690 feet into the darkness, a place few dare to go. This wasn't a team of amateurs. Most of them had been spelunking for years, confident in their skills and well prepared for what lay ahead. They had researched the cave, mapped their route, checked their gear. But here's the thing about caving. No amount of experience can save you when things go wrong. And for one member of the group, Bob Johnson, that truth was about to become terrifyingly real. At first, everything was going according to plan. The group carefully made their way deeper into the cave, using ropes and equipment to navigate safely through the twisting tunnels. But then, they reached a section known ominously as the tube. It was a claustrophobe's nightmare, an uncomfortably tight passageway that forced them to crawl on their stomachs. And, as if that wasn't bad enough, parts of it were submerged in cold, murky water. Visibility was low, and every breath felt labored. Still, the team pressed forward. The smallest member of the group went in first, slithering through the tube and emerging on the other side without much trouble. But then came Bob Johnson. Even in the wider sections, Bob had been struggling. And now, as he entered the tube, it became immediately clear. Against the odds, Bob pushed forward, wriggling through the cold, waterlogged tunnel, until he reached the narrowest point of all. And that is where his luck ran out. From the waist down, he was immobilized. The rock held him tight, like a vice, and every attempt to twist or pull free only sank him further into the stone's grip. Being trapped in a narrow cave is a nightmare all on its own. The walls press in from every side. Every breath feels tighter than the last, and each small movement makes you feel like you're only wedging yourself in deeper. Panic creeps in fast as you realize just how little space you have to move, let alone escape. But for Bob, the terror didn't stop there. As if the crushing confinement wasn't enough to make his heart pound, another threat emerged, one far more immediate. Water. In caving, water changes everything. A tight crawl in a dry cave is terrifying, but survivable. You have time to think, to breathe, to plan. But when water starts rushing in, it becomes a race against death. The space around you turns from stone to trap, and every second counts. Bob could feel it, cold water creeping up his body, flooding into his suit, pressing against his chest. The narrow tube, already unbearable, now felt like a drowning chamber. He thrashed, pulled, tried everything to free himself. But the rising water made it harder to move, harder to breathe. He was running out of time, and just when it seemed like all hope was lost, someone in the group had an idea. Instead of trying to push him forward through the passage, they pulled him back, and against all odds, it worked.
Yeah, it looks tight. Tell me, I get it.
Bob was finally free, but his ordeal was far from over. According to a comment he later shared, he and the two teammates who rescued him had to crawl for another 3 grueling hours just to reach an alternate exit. 3 hours in near total darkness, soaked, exhausted, and shaken. The experience left a lasting mark. Bob admitted that even watching footage from that day fills him with anxiety. The trauma was real, and it stayed with him. From what I could find, he eventually stepped away from caving. The risks, the fear, it was too much. He traded claustrophobic tunnels for open roads and picked up a much safer hobby, cycling. These days, he seems to be doing just fine. The YouTube channel, Exploring Abandoned Mines, is known for venturing into some of the most remote and untouched underground locations. Mines, caves, and tunnels, long forgotten by time. Occasionally, the host also reviews tools and gear designed for exploring these dark, dangerous places. In this particular video, he's testing out a new high-powered flashlight deep inside an abandoned mine tunnel. And to make things even more unsettling, it's the middle of the night.
Now I gotta get past this chute. Wow, crazy. And then you can see how big these timbers are. That's about almost 1 foot in diameter, the big cross timbers. So they had to put big ones in here to hold up all of this rock. You can see right here where some of these boards are bending. Do you hear that? Sounds like what is that, wind? I don't know if you can hear that on the camera. Do you hear that? It stopped. Well, I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound like wind, but that's crazy. Don't know if that's a bird or I don't know what that is. It almost sounds like snakes, but wow. I've heard some weird stuff in mines, but that is definitely creepy. I don't know what that is. So let's get out of here and head back out to the portal. That was weird. I don't hear it. Wow, that was strange.
At first, the explorer seems mostly unfazed. He even casually speculates that the eerie sound echoing through the tunnel might be a bird or maybe a nest of snakes. But as the unsettling noise continues, persistent and unnatural, his calm exterior begins to crack. Without saying much, he slowly starts to backtrack, retreating step by step out of the mine.
Well, I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound like wind, but that's crazy. Don't know if that's a bird or I don't know what that is. It almost sounds like snakes, but wow. I've heard some weird stuff in mines, but that is definitely creepy. I don't know what that is. So let's get out of here.
Now, that sound? It doesn't resemble any animal I've ever heard. Certainly not a bird, and definitely not snakes. But I'll let you decide for yourself. Tell me in the comments, what do you think that was? Sometimes in the deep, forgotten places of the earth, it's not just the dark you should be afraid of. It's what might be waiting in it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. But be careful, because sometimes the things we fear in stories have a way of finding us in real life. Sweet dreams, if you make it through the night.